awesome that Kristen Vesely is in the house for what could be a weekend where Tiare Jennings ties her or passes her on a list. But, you know, Tiare has cemented herself in so many offensive categories in the record books. One of the best ever wear a Sooner uniform.
Lair Butte will lead things off in from the left side, and we are underway. Butte has been a regular part of this lineup in the leadoff spot. Kristen Vesely said, "We go as she goes." Kennedy Thomas, Jasmine Rowland, Taria Coleman is a former Sooner, in fact, and she'll be in the cleanup spot in the lineup. Nicole, when we talked to Kristen Vesely, and she said, with the injuries to our pitching staff, we have had to just try to outscore teams. How can you take advantage of that potentially if you're Kelly Maxwell, the aggressiveness?
Oh, that right there. What Kelly Maxwell does best is she has late break and her movement travels so far. And so being able to bait these hitters who are aggressive with a pitch that's right on the corner, pitch one, maybe pitch two, you get to expand already early in the count, knowing that they're going to chase.
Little tapper is foul. 42 runs scored for Butte. She is a transfer from Tennessee, 2 seasons at Tennessee, and this is her first as a Houston Cougar. Very influential personality on this team. And a swing and a miss, drop third strike, but Hansen will pick it up and fire it down to first. And there's a strikeout to start things for Kelly Maxwell.
And talk about taking advantage of the aggressiveness. And there it was right there with Kelly Maxwell expanding the zone with 2 strikes and getting the chase of Butte. That is the tone that Coach Gasso wanted to see at the start of this game.
Another lefty brings to the plate Kennedy Thomas, 388 hitter. Leads this team in hits and is 7th in the Big 12 with 50 hits. Elk Grove, California native, and she's a transfer from Cal. Hits this one right to the Sooner third baseman Alyssa Brito for out number 2.
Another thing about having a team like Houston be so aggressive early in the count defensively, you have to be a little bit more on your feet. You're going to be a little bit more prepared. There's going to be balls that are going to be put in play because they're chasing those pitches early on. They're chasing the balls that aren't off the plate from Kelly Maxwell. Better be ready.
Jasmine Rowland is in. First pitch swinging right there. Rowland, a grad transfer from Salt Lake City, and spent 3 seasons at Missouri, was all SEC freshman team there, and then 2 seasons at Arizona State, where she batted .306 with 10 home runs a season ago. 9 home runs this year for Jasmine Rowland. She had a 2-homer game in Game 3 against Oklahoma State. DJ, they fared well, even though they haven't always won against the best teams in the Big 12, including a win over Texas.
Now, this Houston team goes as their offense goes. And if you look at their scores, there's so many times throughout the season that they just simply got outscored by opponents. And it's not that this team isn't talented. There is talent all up and down this lineup. But they've battled some injury in the circle, and with that sometimes comes the double-edged sword of we've got a great offense, but we also have to outscore people.
Two strikes and nothing to Rowland. Crowd into it early. Sometimes when a team is aggressive, the crowd notices and they can kind of feel the energy.
We were saying there was hardly any energy at the beginning of this game, but maybe that's what the Sooner crowd needed to wake up.
Just missed down and in from Maxwell.
One thing about Sooner fans are pretty softball savvy. They understand the game.
That one just fouled off 12. Kelly Maxwell, with the strikeout earlier this inning, now has 97 on the year. She is 3 away from her 4th 100 strikeout season at the collegiate level.
Tough to maintain every single year having that same success, and she's one of the few pitchers throughout the country that's been able to consistently do what she does each year in the circle. And I think one thing that has been kind of awesome to watch her throughout her career is she just continues to get better and better and better, and something that you've seen throughout this season as well.
Good battle, though, here with Jasmine Rowland. Scrappy player. He's an excellent athlete, and that's one thing that Houston added with some of the transfers they got was experience from other programs. They feel good about the blend they have of some of their younger players. And a lot of these transfers popped up on the infield. Alina Torres calls for it, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Kelly Maxwell in the circle. Oklahoma coming to the plate for the first time tonight when we return.
Type of lineup, but this staff is having to step up in different ways. Taylor Edwards, one of those pitchers.
Jada Coleman leads off tonight for the Sooners. Jennings and Brito with Kenzie Hansen in the cleanup spot. Alina Torres, Cassidy Pickering. Riley Ludlam is the designated player tonight, and then Sanders and Riley Boone, the 9 for Patty Gasso. Jada Coleman. What a season she's having once again. .457 is her average in Big 12 play. She has reached base safely in 30 straight games, and over that span, she's batting nearly .500.
Jada Coleman's one of those athletes that just she makes it so simple. See ball, hit ball. She just reacts. She lets her athleticism shine through, and sometimes, especially in this day and age, with all the film, with all the study that you can do, it can be easy to get caught up in that and forget to just react.
3-1 to Jada, the senior, 3-time All-American. The other thing is she leads the Big 12 in walks. She's taken 35 walks this year.
Which is huge to think about from a leadoff standpoint.
And there's walk number 36.
And there we go.
I could see it coming.
We talk so much about how a tone gets set from the first batter of a game, and the fact that Jada Coleman is able to draw walks to start a game so often. She's seeing a lot of pitches. Getting that leadoff batter on, it completely takes the wind out of your defensive sails when you're walking the leadoff batter of a game.
First pitch swinging. Jennings launches one to straightaway center field, but there's some real estate out there for Kennedy Thomas, and she'll make the catch. Everybody in the crowd on their feet when she touched that one. But about 5 feet of room out there for Kennedy Thomas to make the play for the first out.
Yeah, something to note and keep an eye out for. It is windy today. If you have that crosswind going from right field across to left field, if you get that ball too high, if it gets caught up, it's gonna slow down. If that's maybe a little bit more on a line, that probably goes out.
It's an interesting wind, too, for this time of the year. It's kind of like a northeast wind.
It's awful. It's cold.
Says the hitter. What does the pitcher say?
Hey, keep it in the ballpark.
Right?
Keep it in the ballpark.
Alyssa Brito in there. This is Alyssa Brito's senior day. Her posters being distributed. She will likely have a long autograph line following this one. .427 hitter is Brito. That one just on the outside corner. Keith Kearney is our plate umpire. Hearing it from some of the Sooner faithful.
It's a little tough.
Man, rough crowd.
Establish the river early, I always say. And there it is.
That one bounces up, and a 2-2 count to Alyssa Brito. 48 runs scored, 44 driven in, and a .427 average. She leads the Big 12 in total bases with 111. And hits this one into the air. Wynn's going to knock this one down as well. Paige Hulsey, the right fielder, in to make the play for out number 2. And Coleman stays at first.
This has to be a little bit into the game plan that Houston has. Knowing, okay, Oklahoma, they're going to make contact. They're going to have solid, but there's some wind going on. How can we make them miss just enough so that the ball hangs up in the air, so that our defense can make plays?
Kinzie Hansen with 2 down.
And to that point, Nicole, you know the conversation in the Sooner dugout right now. You got to use the dirt.
Yeah.
Get the ball out of the air.
Kinzie Hansen missed 8 games. Is battling a tweak in her right knee. Back in the lineup, drills this one past the Sooner dugout, past Patty Gasso.
That one looked like it was a hit and run. Jada Coleman was off on the pitch. Didn't even look whenever the ball was hit, so kind of assuming it was a hit and run. We talked to her before the game, and she said, all right, we're going to pull out the card. We are going to put some balls in play, make some action happen.
Hansen down the right field line. That's in a tough spot that nobody can reach and lands foul. So 2 strikes on the Sooner catcher, Kinzie Hansen. Leadoff walk in the inning by Jada Coleman. Sooners trying to take advantage of it. Oklahoma leads the country in batting average, .379. They are 2nd in runs per game and 3rd in home runs. Hansen bouncing back up the middle into center. Up with it, Kennedy Thomas. And Jada Coleman will stop at 3rd. Sooners extend the inning now with runners at the corners for Alina Torres.
DJ, you talked about it, hitting the ball hard into the ground. That ball was bounced maybe a foot in front of the plate. Bounces over the pitcher up the middle. It's a quick infield, especially whenever it's freshly watered. It gets through the infield quick, and with the power that Oklahoma has off their barrels, you put it in the ground, you're going to get through the infield more often than not.
Is just what a pure athlete she was, and probably still is. I think I'm probably selling her short in past tense.
Also played soccer at Oklahoma, similar to Brianna Terang.
You know Coach Gasso, she loves recruiting just athletes, pure athletes.
Opportunity here for Alina Torres. 2 down, runners at the corners. And a 2-0 count now.
See Taria Coleman behind the plate. She's aware. She played at Oklahoma for a year. She's aware of what they do, especially with first and thirds. She knows the plays. Kinzie Hansen, she has been a little bit aggressive more this year than in years past on the base path as well.
Torres takes strike 1. It's another thing Coach Gasso said has been an emphasis in practice. Get better jumps, better leads. There have been reviews and players called out for leaving too soon.
DJ, thoughts, opinions?
Don't leave early.
Be on time.
Be on time.
Yeah. In the air to left, back is Buto, and it's gone. It's a 3-run home run for Alina Torres. A big 2-out blast to left field for the Sooners second baseman. And Oklahoma takes a quick 3-0 lead in the first.
Alina Torres, her swing has been looking so smooth. The biggest difference from early on in the season to where she is now, she looks very in control of her body. Her swing is slow. You can see her timing was perfect on that high kick. And as soon as she lands, that back hip just triggers. That one on a line, not caught up by the wind. It's a no-doubter.
8th home run, and that's Sooner home run presented by OERB, the people of Oklahoma Oil and Natural Gas. Jada knew it. And this is that Oklahoma team, though, that you have to deal with. You think you've got them. Maybe you're going to get out of the inning. You leave the door open just a little bit, and they blast the door down.
Well, and something, too, again, when we had the opportunity to speak with Coach Gasso before the game, it was score early and take advantage of opportunities early. And that has been something at times in the last few weeks that we've seen pitchers and teams get out of some of those jams. And something you've got to take advantage of is a leadoff walk. And whether you do it immediately or 2 outs, it's something that you've got to take advantage of.
Freshman Cassidy Pickering with the bases empty and 2 down, but 3 in for the Sooners in the first.
Edwards, she found the river a couple times early on in the inning, but as it's gone on, she hasn't been able to locate those quite as well. Ball kind of rising up, not getting those calls on the river.
2-0. It is a senior-heavy Oklahoma team, but these freshmen have certainly contributed very well. Pickering, Ella Parker has contributed as well, very well. Maya Bland.
I mean, right now they're contributing with their cheers. They're pretty loud.
And there's ball 4 upstairs to Pickering. Second walk issued in the inning by Taylor Edwards.
That's one thing, if you look at Taylor Edwards and you look at her stat line, hasn't thrown an immense amount of innings, just 28 so far on the season, but those walk numbers are high. 21 walks in 28 innings, so needing to hammer the zone but still get that good late break.
Ludlam drives this one into center field. That will dunk in front of Kennedy Thomas. Throw comes back in behind Pickering, and the Sooners restart the offense. A walk and a single.
I was telling you before, I am a fan of Riley Ludlam. I feel like she gets good energy going for Oklahoma's lineup for their team. She always finds a way to just get one through, get one down. That's what you want, especially with 2 outs. Just continue this rally, continue jumping out early.
Sydney Sanders with runners at first and second now.
And if you're Edwards and you're facing Sanders, I would want to go off speed. I want to get her out in front. I want to catch her off guard. We've seen her. She's a little bit hit or miss with that pitch. You have 2 outs. Go there.
And right now, so far, going through nearly the entire lineup here in the first, the off-speed hasn't been established effectively. And that's something, as you're seeing this Sooner lineup move, they're sitting on 1 speed.
13 home runs for Sanders, second on this Sooner team. Third, I should say, on this team. Oklahoma now 86 home runs as a team this year.
And there it is. There's the off speed. And you could just feel how Sanders wasn't ready timing wise. Again, she's not sitting it. She shouldn't. She hasn't seen it all lineup long. But that's what you got to do to get yourself out of an inning.
In the air to right. Halsey makes the catch and the inning's over. Sooners leave 2, but they get a 3-run blast from Alina Torres. DJ for Oklahoma, top of the lineup.
Taking care of the 1 through 5. If you look at the stat line for the Cougars, their 1 through 5 are all hitting above 300, a few pushing that 400 mark, but if you look at the 6 through 9, underneath the 300 spots. So for Kelly Maxwell, do not allow the top half of this lineup to set the tone for this Houston offense.
She faces the cleanup batter and former Sooner, Taria Coleman, who was on the 2022 National Championship team. Limited playing time, but last year was first team All-American Athletic Conference. Cougars were still in the American last year. offered at that pitch, and the count is 1-2.
To that point of Taria Coleman being a transfer, this Houston team, you touched on it earlier, but this Houston team, out of their 23 players, 11 of them are transfers from a Power 5 conference, from a Power 5 school.
Yeah, so you're charged with kind of blending that along with your youthful talent.
Yeah, we were talking, you have a new hitting coach, you have a new pitching coach, and then you have all these girls that are coming in and they're transfers. You want to share the knowledge, but DJ, you said it best. How do you also do that in established culture?
You know, and that's something, I mean, Coach Vesley and her staff, they've done such a tremendous job recruiting and also taking advantage of the transfer portal. But with that comes its own different set of challenges. And having a team that you're trying to get established in a new conference, along with players who maybe have different viewpoints from being at different programs. So I feel like at times it's a blessing, but also it can be a curse when you're trying to really build a strong culture.
Yeah, and that's something, it's hard to get people to buy in. Sometimes it takes time, and that's what Houston, they've been trying to do this season, is just get that culture set up and get people to buy in.
Pop up by Coleman. On the infield, Tiare Jennings over from shortstop to take care of it. And Kristen Vesley said, one thing we can do with that is just take advantage of our strengths. Her team has plus speed, and they are very aggressive along with that.
And they've got a lot of strengths. They, you know, I could talk all day. I said earlier, I go, we should just have an inning where I tell Kristen Vesley stories.
I'm down.
But she recruits the type of player that she was.
Line drive to left by Shelby Smith. Throw comes back in behind her from Riley Boone. And the crowd recognizing the attempt to throw in behind the runner there. Riley Boone showing off that arm of hers out in left.
Speaking of aggressive and coming all the way from left field.
First hit of the game for Houston. And Bree Cantu will be the batter. One of those transfers we spoke about. This is her third stop. Graduate student out of League City, Texas. Spent an abbreviated season at Texas Tech and then 2 years at Texas, 2021 and 2022. And this is her second year at Houston.
And we talked about how much Coach Vesley and the staff have utilized the transfer portal. Nicole, you know this because you're from that area as well, but a mecca of softball in the Houston area. So many of these transfers are athletes who left home and went to other universities, but part of seeing such a group of transfers coming in is young women who are coming back home after going other places, but such a rich softball foundation in the Houston area.
A little conversation here between Kinsey Hansen and Kelly Maxwell. Maxwell running into really her first difficulties so far. Giving up the base hit and a 2-1 count on Cantu.
To that point, 11 of the 15 of those players are from the Houston area. And there, like you said, there is a lot of talent in that area, and maybe they didn't play on the same travel ball team, but they grew up playing against each other.
Check swing. Did they get the tag? I don't think so on the runner going down the line, but Torres will be able to throw out Cantu. Sooners are jogging off the field as though that was a double play.
Torres sold it. And the call on the field
is out.
And again,
So you're right, DJ. Unlike, we'll explain it when we come back. 3-0 Oklahoma.
Just who she was as a person was honestly just incredible. The way that she really got to know the athletes.
Riley Boone leads off for the Sooners, the number 9 batter. Oklahoma got the 3 runs on 3 hits in the first. Left a couple out there, though.
And I just love this from Riley Boone. I talked about Riley Ludlam being a little bit of a spark plug, and I like how coaches sandwich Sid Sanders in between two spark plugs. Just get a little bit momentum going, but Riley Boone leads Oklahoma in batting average. Might not have as much power as an Alyssa Burrito or Tiara Jennings, but she gets a lot of gap hits, has a ton of speed, draws walks, turns the lineup over. That is her job, and she does it so well.
Down and away. Riley Boone was asked about that this week. She said, "I'm just working on swinging hard."
It's that simple, right?
Love that idea.
See the ball, hit the ball. It's a simple game.
This one fouled back to the back screen. To be clear on that play that ended that last half inning, DJ, the original call on the field was not runner safe at second base. It was runner out at second base. I think we had up there that it was runner safe. What we saw was the second base umpire calling out and then safe over at first base, as this one is lifted into shallow left field and caught in foul ground by Rollin for the first out in the second inning.
And it was a delayed call all the way around. And, you know, I think one of the toughest parts of all of that is I'm not so sure, even after watching it, that there was actually a tag. But the fact that the call on the field was out, I don't think that there was enough evidence to overturn it.
Back to the top of the order for Jada Coleman, who walked and then scored on Torres's 3-run home run. 36 walks this year for Jada Coleman. And she's now scored 50 runs.
Jada does such a tremendous job of kind of bridging that gap, because you want your leadoff hitter to be aggressive, but you also want your leadoff hitter to be patient and see a lot of pitches. It's kind of a catch-22, and she bridges it so well of drawing walks and seeing pitches, but also coming out and setting the tone when she needs to.
Buto grabs this one for the second out.
We talked about Houston needing to have an adjustment. Edwards ran into some trouble, and it was just one swing, but had some traffic early on. Jada Coleman walked. Kinsey Hansen had a hard hit, so there was some traffic, but we talked about wanting to add off speed, wanting to change up the eye level, change up the look. That last one that Jada Coleman fouled off, that was an off speed, and she still got a hold of it, but she didn't get a hold of it enough. And if you're Houston, that's the game plan. Don't let Oklahoma get a hold of it enough.
Jennings drove Kennedy Thomas to the warning track in center field for an out, her first time up.
And that's a nice location from Taylor Edwards, just right at the knee and kind of in that borderline area, but great location to Jennings.
This one fouled back to the back screen. Spring football game moved back tomorrow on the University of Oklahoma campus from 1 o'clock to 2:30. Softball stays at 6 p.m. between these two teams. Then we are postponing the Patty Gasso statue unveiling, which was set for tomorrow. I want to do it in better weather conditions. This one fouled back again by Tiara Jennings. She is 2 away from Kristen Vesely for 4th on Oklahoma's all-time hits list. Kristen Vesely, by the way, when she graduated in 2006, she was Oklahoma's career hits leader. Been passed by those you see on the screen there.
And the placement from Edwards against Jennings is that bat has been so spot on. She is mixing that low and away pitch, like you said, like right at that perfect moment of it may be a strike, it may not, but with 2 strikes you can't let it go. That low and away pitch, and then also a couple of off speeds.
And another good two-strike pitch from Edwards. Again, just misses, but those are the types of locations that set up the next pitch. And again, not allowing Jennings to sit on one side of the plate, keeping her honest and working the inner half. Good opportunity to change speeds here for Edwards.
But couldn't locate it. And now a 3-2 pitch will come. 89 career home runs for Tiare Jennings. And at Oklahoma, that does not even get you into the top 5 all time. Payoff is out into right center field as she just was able to guide that past the diving second baseman, Bethany Aguilar. 2-out single keeps the inning alive for Tiare Jennings and the Sooners.
And what a good at-bat by Tiare Jennings as she's nearing Kristen Vesely on that all-time hit list, but a pitch a little bit on the inner half and just does enough to inside out it and take it the other way. But great at-bat by Jennings.
So here is Alyssa Brito, popped up to the right fielder Paige Hulsey her first time. Alyssa Brito was part of a student-led Ignite rally on campus last night. A lot of students there, and Patty Gasso said she was inspired by that. She said, "I love that word, Ignite."
And when we had the opportunity to speak with Coach Gasso, it was, we use the term fight a lot. And she goes, but you can't fight if you're not woken up, if you're not ignited. So it's pretty awesome to hear some of the inner workings of what they're doing. Even, you know, we're in the back half of Big 12 play, of still trying to find some things to motivate these athletes and just continue to ignite, light a fire.
2-1 the count. Up and in and got Brito. Plate umpire Keith Kearney says on the front wrist is where that ball came in and got her.
It's one of those pitches that'll give you pause for a minute. That's why you wear your elbow guard. This one.
That looked like even almost on the hand or wrist there, Nicole.
It's like it grazed the elbow guard, get the fingers.
So a chance for a 2-out rally and Kinsey Hansen to the plate. Alina Torres' home run in the first came with 2 outs, and Kinsey Hansen was aboard after a base hit.
And one thing I noticed, I saw Rawlings did a post about Kinsey Hansen. She just signed as a Rawlings athlete for NIL, but the bat that she has is actually, I think, not released yet. And so it's certified, it passed everything, but Rawlings hasn't released it. So you just see that black bat. There's no label, there's no name, no nothing. Kinsey Hansen, Riley Ludlam swung with it, but it's a test bat, basically.
Top secret. It's a prototype.
It's here, but not quite. But both of them had really hard hits up the middle, so I don't know. Take with that what you may, but feedback after today should probably be pretty positive.
This feels like a dangerous pitch right now for Taylor Edwards, DJ.
Well, she's finding herself, 2 quick outs early in this inning, but 2-0, runner in scoring position with Hansen. She's got to be very careful here.
In the air to center, Thomas chases it down, and the inning is over. So a single and a hit batsman and 2 left for Oklahoma. And for the top of the 3rd inning, 3-0, Oklahoma leads Houston. And Kelly Maxwell back out to the circle facing Bethany Aguilar, the second baseman, lower third of the lineup for the Cougars here. Maxwell has faced the minimum, but she did get a double play to end the second. A little bit outside. Construction is not quite as busy at Loves Field these days, and so the Sooners have actually been able to practice, take some swings, learn the outfield a little bit more in recent days. Nicole, what kind of an impact do you think that's maybe had on them?
Learning your field.
Yeah.
That's for one. There's only so much you can do in pregame. And in the game, you're just reacting. It's instinct. You kind of get the feel for it. But being able to practice on a field day in and day out, that's why you can call it a home field.
And I think that's part of the key, Nicole, of having that home field feeling. And I don't really feel like the Sooners have gotten completely settled in here at Loves Field yet.
Well, before this week, they didn't even get to practice.
Leadoff walk issued. So Maxwell gives out her first free pass. She surrendered one hit and now deals with the shortstop, Brooke Lorenzo. Lorenzo's an Ole Miss transfer. Played for the Rebels back in 2022 and has been the everyday shortstop here at Houston for the last 2 seasons. Trying to bunt this one and nearly picked off, running down the line by Alyssa Brito.
Brito charging hard. That bunt was just deflected towards third, the foul side, the dugout, third base dugout. But it's almost, if she didn't crash so hard, she probably would have caught that. She was crashing so hard as soon as she saw hands.
Well, and Brito in tight, expecting a little short game from Houston.
That's what they have. They have a lot of power and they have a ton of speed. And as good as Brito is, if she isn't up in the box like that, the way that they can place their short game, she doesn't have a chance, or it's going to be very close.
Rolled back to Maxwell. And beautifully turned. No, not quite. As at first base, Lorenzo able to beat the wrap. Sooners rolled it about as quickly as you could.
And on a ground ball that wasn't hit very hard, back to Maxwell. You could see her kind of just waiting for it to get to her, saying, I've got a lead runner to spin here, but not quite hit hard enough to spin it.
Those are the worst. You're just waiting for them to come. In reality, it also looked like Sid Sanders, her foot came off whenever she stretched as well.
I think you're right. This one to Brito. One at second base. Torres' return is in time. There's the double play around the horn. It's 2 double plays in the last 2 innings. But with her coming to the plate, the Cougars will go to the bullpen for the first time tonight. And we will see Tamira Waiters into the game. So Taylor Edwards goes the first 2 innings. And now it is Waiters. Expected to see several pitchers. And Waiters is a sophomore from the Colony, Texas, and she transferred from UT Arlington. 17 games there a season ago before transferring to Houston.
And I will say this, you can see the game plan in the first 2 pitches that Waiters has thrown. We've talked about it, Nicole, so much in this game of needing to change speeds and keep this OU offense off balance. And here comes Waiters. 2 tremendous off-speed pitches to open the count.
This one lined down the right field line, though, by Torres. Cut off before it reached the corner as Hulsey gets it back up and in. It is a leadoff single for Torres, and she is 2 for 2 tonight.
And as beautiful as those off-speed pitches were, the adjustment and just sitting late from Torres, gorgeous. Reading the 2 off-speed pitches and then taking the velocity oppo.
Yeah, and that's where location comes into play. You throw 2 off speeds back to back, and then you throw a low and away pitch that continues the same timing that she's seen. I would have wanted to see something tight in on the hands. I don't think she would have been quite as on time.
5th hit for the Sooners. It brings Cassidy Pickering to the plate. She drew a walk her first time.
We stay up here long enough, Mindy. We're going to start calling pitches. I feel like that's where we're headed.
I always try to. I don't know if you're supposed to or not, but I always try to. I'm out here making my own charts.
Hit hard, but foul up onto the concourse. One and one to count on Cassidy Pickering. Bucks Field well attended tonight. I've got to say we're probably approaching 4,000 once again. Going to be a little cooler tonight. Temperature going to get into the 50s, maybe the 40s before we're done. Depends upon what time it is once that sun sets. But these fans are not going to miss the opportunity to see this team.
It's been pretty amazing. You know, it doesn't matter how early I get to the ballpark. There are always people lined up outside. Young ball players, young baseball players. It's pretty awesome to see the impact that the Sooners and just Loves Field in general has had on the community as a whole.
And I've had them get angry with me that, you know, with a press pass, you come in a little early to start to go to work, and
Hey,
someone will
he's
go, hey, where's he going?
Don't be a cheater.
And you say he's going to work, and they say that's not work, what he does.
Pickering, another really good at bat, just drawing up to full count. You talked about the kind of freshman being able to come in and just perform for a team that is so senior heavy. It's not easy to crack this lineup.
But also part of the culture that they encourage, support, and make sure that these freshmen have what they need. That allows them to be able to contribute more easily, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I feel like Cassidy Pickering is a good example of that because she came in at one point early in the season was leading this offense as far as batting average as a freshman on a team that has, I mean, start naming players. And as this season has gone along, I feel like you've seen her continue to evolve and have at bats like what we just saw there of working counts, seeing pitches, and just continuing to be composed. She's starting to look like a vet, not a freshman.
Well, at this point in the season, and you ask any college player, they're not freshmen anymore. It's end of April. You're a freshman in the fall. You're a freshman your first few weeks, but you're on the back end of conference. You're not a freshman anymore. You know what it takes to win. You know the level of talent that's out here.
Riley Ludlam, also a newcomer, the transfer from Furman University, where she was the Southern Conference Player of the Year last year. Professional is the word that Patty Gasso has used to describe Riley Ludlam, the way that she's fit in and her approach.
Has that unmarked bat. I'm gonna ask JT after the game, hey, what is this bat? What's so special about it? What's different?
I think it's the neon bat tape.
It's gotta help.
Just in case you couldn't tell.
That'll send it to 1-2 on Ludlam. Oklahoma left 2 runners in the first. They left 2 runners in the second. So haven't taken full advantage. But they have runners at first and second with nobody out to start the third. Off speeds, tried to wait on that one.
That changeup is so good. I'm loving this pitch sequence and the spread between her hard pitch. Whenever she goes in tight on the hands, where they love them just a pitch before, had to be a defensive swing. And then you have that where it's so floaty, you just catch yourself just hitching to be able to hold your hands back.
Popped up, foul, and that'll get just over the top of the screen. 1-2 on Ludlam.
And if you're Ludlam, you're going to have to sit one of the 2 speeds. If you try to sit in between, you're going to get those foul balls, you're going to want to sit either hard or soft.
And she pulls this one past third. Up with it quickly is Butow. And so the bases are loaded with nobody out on a sharp single to left by Riley Ludlam, who's 2 for 2.
And you just said it, Mendez, of getting that timing, especially with how much Waiters has been changing speeds, but Ludlam getting something she can handle and just doing a great job of getting on time.
Nobody out in the third. Sanders flied out to Hulsey in right field. A first-time check, swing, slow roller to short. Lorenzo's play is to first. They get the out there, but Alina Torres scores from third, and it is 4-0 Sooners.
If you're Sid Sanders, you have to know the off-speed is coming. It looked like on that swing she was surprised, and maybe she was, because Waiters, that off-speed is so slow. You think you're on time, and then you have to tell yourself, wait even longer before you swing. But you could see there, she is so far out in front. Here's Sid Sanders, take the first pitch. See what that changeup looks like.
Boone does take the first pitch here from Waiters. Riley Boone popped up in foul ground to Rollin, the third baseman, her first time up. Leading hitter on this Sooner team. .431 the average. She's 5th in the Big 12 in batting average.
Wouldn't all teams and coaching staffs be so lucky to get that type of production out of their 9-hole?
That's amazing.
And you are starting to see more coaches follow in that trend of putting the 9-hole in a place where they're not the lowest average on the team. There's somebody who can be relied and depended on to turn over the lineup, to have big production. Because whenever you do that, that's where most of your power is. That's where your momentum is.
Three balls and no strikes with first base open and one down. And there's strike one pumped through there to Riley Boone. Boone has been so good in the last 2 Women's College World Series runs for Oklahoma. She's batted .500 the last 2 seasons in the Women's College World Series, helping carry the Sooners to titles 2 and 3 in a row. Fly ball to left will be caught by Butow. Brief tag at third there by Cassidy Pickering, but she will stay put. And that's out number 2.
It's a big time out, but getting Riley Boone to put the ball in the air is big time. Such a spot of having runners at second and third, and the speed of Boone putting a pitch in a location to get Riley Boone to lift it weakly to the outfield takes all the pressure off of your infield. Big time pitch from Waiters.
Now she deals with Jada Coleman with runners at second and third and 2 gone.
And even then, going back a batter before to Sid Sanders, knowing got her last time on the off speed. Now this changeup is even slower. Let's throw it, make her get herself out.
Coleman hits this one foul down the left field line, and Butow will run out of real estate over there against the foul wall. Jada walked and scored on the Alina Torres home run in the first, and then flied out to left in the second inning. Batting for the 3rd time in as many innings.
Oh, shortstop has the ball. No one's seeing it. That foul ball actually bounced back onto the field. No one saw it until a little bit later, but the umpire threw Waiters the ball. She was getting ready to throw. Jada Coleman was in the box, and the shortstop said, hey.
You just walk in behind the runner out there at second base, and
hey, look what I
as soon
found.
as she steps off the bag, tag her.
The old hidden ball trick.
Another foul ball by Jada Coleman. You have to think, though, honestly, if Waiters could get out of this which was bases loaded, nobody out, and give up only one on a ground ball.
That's momentum. Pair that with Houston is about to have their 1-2-3 up in the top of the fourth. It's a big moment in this ball game.
Nicely played there by Coleman behind the plate. This is when the ball came from the stands.
Jada Coleman, little scared, didn't know what to do.
Waits back on the 2-2, drives it into the gap, and it's chased down by the sprinting Lair Botu. And the inning is over. Oklahoma gets just one after bases loaded and nobody out. Noon. Wind has died down a little bit, and it's a nice evening here at Loves Field. It's supposed to be a little cooler tomorrow. Expecting rain that has pushed back the Oklahoma football spring game from 1 o'clock to 2:30. But on for first pitch between these same two teams tomorrow night at 6. May want to bring your jacket. I know we will. Top of the order, Butte leading things off against Kelly Maxwell. Maxwell's allowed a couple of base runners, one on a single, one on a walk, but 2 double plays turned defensively by the Sooners.
And Maxwell has done a tremendous job so far in this ball game. Big spot here. I mean, Houston getting out of what really could have put a big gap in this ball game, only giving up the 1 run with bases loaded, and now in a spot with their top hitters due up in the inning. So Maxwell needing to get some of that momentum back in the Sooner dugout.
Butte, a Riverside, California native. And she has been the catalyst, as we talked about, for this Houston offense. They can score nearly 7 runs per game. And there is ball 4, the second walk issued by Maxwell tonight.
And each of those walks have been leadoff hitters of the inning, right? That's when you go down the cardinal sins of pitching. That's up there, probably number 1. But has done a good job of finding a way to get ground balls. But again, going through the table setters of this lineup.
Thomas pops this one up, and what a play by Kinsey Hansen.
We saw it once before. Alyssa Burrito wasn't able to get there in time. Kinsey Hansen said, all right, don't even worry. I'm going to get this one. Look at her reaction. Immediately, doesn't waste time, taking off her mask. But her first step, she stays pretty low. She comes out of her squat, and it's just full out layout right there.
Last season's Johnny Bench Award for National Catcher of the Year gives you another glimpse of why that was. Remember, she's been battling that kind of cranky knee at times, but getting fully healthy from that these days and showing it. Rollin takes downstairs. I beg your pardon, that was a strike call, so 0-2.
And as a pitcher, whenever you're throwing and you have a leadoff walk and then the very next batter, your catcher does that, makes you feel pretty good.
You come right back and do what Maxwell just did, which is strike out Rollin, the number 3 batter in the lineup.
Big time out, big time strikeout of Rollin, and just talk about placement of pitches. And to your point, Mendez, I think that strikeout should go in Kinsey Hansen's stat line as much as Kelly Maxwell's.
2 strikeouts for Maxwell. This one bunted by Coleman, and Maxwell hops out of the circle and throws her out. Leadoff walk, but then 3 retired by Kelly Maxwell. Lead over BYU there early on in that game out in Provo.
Iowa State, they took the series last weekend against Oklahoma State. You take that momentum and you carry it. BYU, they took one against Oklahoma. They have some momentum in their way. Big 12 is competitive this year.
Houston has been in the mix. As we mentioned earlier, the Cougars have a win over number 2 Texas back on March the 3rd. They beat them 12-10. It was a shootout, but it's the highest ranked win in program history.
When I feel like you look at this Houston team, you look at the record, you look at the Big 12, 3-15 in Big 12 play. That's not a spot, you know, that this program is probably extremely happy with. But I don't feel like it is indicative of what this team is capable of. I think it shows a little bit where they've maybe been handcuffed by some injury. But this is a Houston team that can play. They're athletic, but the record has not quite shown through.
Tiare Jennings 1 for 2 and 1 hit shy of a 4th place tie for most hits in a Sooner career, and she draws the walk here. Oklahoma has had the leadoff batter reach safely in 3 of the first 4 innings.
We talked about this in between some of the innings, but everyone knows, yes, get the leadoff on. It creates momentum, as Coach Gasso would say, ignite the inning, but you can't burn out that flame too quick. You have to bring those runs across. Ever since the first inning, Oklahoma, they've left 2 runners in scoring position, 2nd and 3rd, every single inning.
Yes, 6 left total in 3 innings for the Sooners. So they have 4, but it could be much more as Brito stands in. Popped up to right fielder first time and then got hit by pitch.
And I feel like that's something too, even in games that this team has been winning. You look over the last 3 to 4 weeks, even in wins, you look at the missed opportunities of runs that didn't get put on the board. And you know that that is a conversation that has been had in the clubhouse, at practice, of taking advantage of runners being on base, but also being put on base early with nobody out.
Dangerous pitch here to Brito. 2-1. Waiters was able to get those 3 outs after the bases loaded, nobody out situation in the 3rd. I think she would prefer not to have to deal with that type of situation again. Count runs to 3-1.
Brito plunked back in the 2nd, but there have been 4 walks issued by Houston pitching. You add the hit by pitch, 5 runners put on base throughout this game, and still a lot of game to go.
Just over the inside edge. This is typically where Oklahoma starts to separate. Slow roller to the shortstop. Lorenzo will go to first and get the out by about a step on Brito. Tiare Jennings moves into scoring position on the putout.
That was a nice play by Lorenzo. That ball bounced probably 4 or 5 times. Slow roller. I mean, you thought the pitcher was going to grab it, how slow it went, just outside of her reach. A quick release, keeping her body moving, keeping that momentum to aid that throw over to first.
Here is Kenzie Hansen, who made a great defensive play to catch a foul pop-up in the last half inning. And sometimes it's those defensive plays that can send the momentum into your dugout. Hansen 1 for 2, singled and scored on the Torres home run in the 1st. And then she lined out to the center fielder Kennedy Thomas in the 2nd. In the air, right center, and that will land in front of Kennedy Thomas this time. Hansen took a big turn at first and stopped. Tiare Jennings kind of had to hold up to make sure that Thomas did not catch it, so she reaches 3rd, and it's runners at the corners and 1 down.
The wind is blowing again. If you hit it anywhere towards right field, it's going to lift and it's going to carry. And as soon as that ball was hit, you automatically thought, ooh, that's going in the gap. That was hit hard. We'll see. She was needing to go after that. If she's able to bring those closer in towards the strike zone, she's probably going to get less runners on base.
Bunt right back to Waiters. The throw comes home, but not in time as Jennings slides in safely. And Oklahoma has taken a 5-0 lead on a bunt by Alina Torres, who hit a 3-run home run back in the first.
Coach Gasso said in pregame she was going to get the card out. Talk about asking a player to execute and get a job done. A squeeze play, Torres on the day 2 for 2, has a 3-run bomb back in the first, a single and came around to score in the third, and then lays down a squeeze bunt. That's how you manufacture runs, but that's also the type of execution that Coach Gasso has been wanting to see from this offense. Not a terrible outing coming out of the bullpen for Waiters, through some really quality pitches.
Sooners are pitch running at first for Torres with Avery Hodge. And Cassidy Pickering.
Violation on the action clock from the pitcher from Solis, so it's a 1-0 count, now 2-0.
So the pitch clock violation against Solis. Tough spot. Just give her a moment, right? But you don't have a moment. The clock is ticking. Cassidy Pickering has walked twice. Kenzie Hansen at second, Avery Hodge at first. .368 hitter. 5 home runs for Pickering. Pitch clock nearly got Solis again. She's using every last half millisecond.
And part of that too, I mean, Solis walks into this, she's only thrown 5 2/3 inning on the entire season. So it's a freshman still kind of trying to settle in of just being in the game.
Backhanded by the second baseman Aguilar. And the out will be at second base. 2 down. Hodge is forced out there. Hansen advances to third. And the batter will be Ludlam.
Aguilar, grateful for Pickering placing it perfectly. Yes, it was backhand, but that momentum was carrying her over towards second base.
Sooners are going to run Hannah Core at first for Cassidy Pickering now.
Bethany Aguilar, Cougar second baseman, the lone freshman starter in this Houston lineup.
Played that well. Ludlam 2 for 2. Had a base hit to left her last time. Facing Solis for the first time tonight.
And you have to think, with all the action calls that's come on, Hannah Core, one of the fastest runners for Oklahoma, first and third.
Core takes off towards second base. Sliding in safely at home is Kenzie Hansen, and Core makes it back to first safely. So the Sooners work the delayed steal, and you can't work it much better than that as it produces run number 6.
There's that bobble by Lorenzo, and as soon as Hannah Core saw that, she immediately took herself back towards first. Kenzie Hansen, she sees that ball go past the pitcher, and she is going all the way.
So Hansen, the stolen base. Sooners lead 6-0. And now Core's going to try to steal it, and she does. So the Sooners end up getting 2 stolen bases as Hannah Core swipes second.
seeing the Sooners put pressure on this Houston defense. On the base paths, we've seen the squeeze laid down in this inning. A first and third play. So putting the pressure on this defense and making them make a play.
Of course, 5th stolen base. That foul ball rattles up and over, and then that's the one that you're not looking out for and comes and crowns you in the back of the head on its way back.
Almost made it into the cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
Souvenir either way. So it's a good day.
A pop-up this time, and Coleman takes care of it. The inning is over. Sooners able to scratch out 2 more and take a 6-0 lead to the 5th. They have left 7 runners out there. Paul Feinbaum out there with Brian Bosworth watching this game.
We got Sooner royalty in the house tonight.
Spring game is tomorrow for Sooner football. It'll start at 2:30. Had to move it back because of the weather. Maxwell back out for the Sooners.
Maxwell has been solid so far in this ball game, but one blemish, if I'm gonna nitpick, leadoff hitters of innings. Behind here again, 2 balls, no strikes.
Brian Bosworth and Jamel Holloway out there on the 1985 Oklahoma Sooner National Championship team. Good to have a lot of those alums, some softball alums as well in town this weekend.
It's a whole party this weekend.
No doubt. There are Jamel and Bosworth.
And of course, Boz is drinking a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I've seen those commercials. May have sold a few of those. He's good in those commercials.
Yes.
Swing and a miss here by Smith, and she's the first out in the 5th. Paul Feinbaum of the SEC Network in the house as well. No doubt to watch Brent Venables' Sooner football team tomorrow in the spring game and take in the volleyball or the softball tonight and everything on campus. What have you thought of Kelly Maxwell's night so far, DJ?
That at bat right there turned a corner. Because again, leadoff hitters haven't been outstanding. She's walked the leadoff twice.
A bit of visible frustration. She's issuing a challenge. I love the way that Kelly Maxwell got that strikeout. But she's challenging her team to go, let's get more. Let's finish this. We shouldn't be just content with getting some runs. Let's continue to uphold the standard of what Oklahoma softball is. And I think Kelly Maxwell is doing a fine job so far this inning.
3 strikeouts for Maxwell tonight. Cantu grounded out to the second baseman. Torres back in the 2nd.
And I think to your point, Nicole, one thing that Coach Gasso has been pushing to this team here in recent weeks is you can't turn on cruise control. It does not matter the score, it does not matter the opponent. You've got to finish with the same intensity and bring that intensity. And again, I think it goes back to igniting the fire and continuing it throughout the game. 6-0 lead, 6-0 cushion is great, but you can't turn on cruise and just coast your way through the rest of the ballgame.
So the walk follows the strikeout, and Cantu is aboard with 1 away in the 5th. Sooner pitching staff super deep. Saw Kirsten Deal throw a no-hitter against Tulsa. Her first career no-hitter in the midweek. Jen Rocha going over things over in the dugout. Bethany Aguilar, the batter. Over the outstretched glove of Sanders and down the right field line for a base hit.
And that throw from Hannah Core was incredible. She caught that off balance. And
I love her reaction to the
like, "I just
crowd's
do this."
reaction.
Just another day at the yard for Hannah Court. She's like, yeah, I do that every day, guys.
Watch her body. I mean, her momentum is taking her away. Alyssa Brito doesn't even have to move, but to that point, you have the walk, and then you have that good.
That is Jordy Wilkins. And Brooke Lorenzo, the batter. One away. Did she go around? Yes, says the third base umpire, Kaylee Young. Lorenzo hit into a fielder's choice play back in the third. And quickly 0-2 on Lorenzo.
We talked about in the beginning of this game how aggressive Houston is in their at-bats. Kind of felt them quiet a little bit, but a quick 0-2. They are going after Kelly Maxwell's backdoor. That is the game plan right now for Houston.
Just misses away, and Lorenzo not wanting to chase.
Good hold by Lorenzo, but you've got to love that two-strike spunk coming from Kelly Maxwell.
So that'll send it to 2-2.
And that one is tough to take. The first one, maybe. The second one, if they're not calling it, don't swing, I guess. But that is such a good pitch. But again, it reinforces I'm looking for that backdoor. That's the pitch I'm hunting.
There's a swing and a miss, and that is the 100th strikeout of the season for Kelly Maxwell. Fourth time that she has done that in her collegiate career.
I love that pitch, and you can see Maria Jennings waving the K. But see how that ball is just slightly elevated. It goes back over the middle of the plate, but the elevation is something that Kelly Maxwell hadn't shown Lorenzo that whole entire at-bat. So just that different plane, that different look, is just enough to get that swing and miss.
So Maxwell able to get a couple of big strikeouts in the inning. And she will face pinch hitter Kelly Repa, graduate transfer from Stephen F. Austin, and originally out of Round Rock, Texas. Two down, runners at first and second. Repa batting for Paige Hulsey, who hit into a double play in her only at bat tonight. Two and 0. Repa's 18th game, batting .214 on the season. Maxwell has surrendered only 2 hits.
She's done a good job of keeping this Houston offense at bay. On the other side of that, 3 walks surrendered by Maxwell. 2 of those have led off innings. But a big spot here, 9-hole. Or Katie Repa in the pinch hit spot, but runners at first and second. 2 outs, go after the pinch hit.
They will appeal, and no swing down at third base, so it's a full count. And if Repa could get aboard and roll the lineup back over to Butte at the top, potentially Kennedy Thomas.
Not just rolling over that lineup, but loading up the bases.
But she does not. Maxwell strikes out all 3 outs in the inning. Cougars leave 2. It is 6-0 Oklahoma at the 5th inning stretch at Loves Field.
Adversity, right? With greatness and with eliteness comes a different realm of adversity, but this is a team that has hit some roadblocks or road bumps here and there.
Ella Parker pinch hits for Sydney Sanders to start the 5th. What a good freshman season Ella Parker has had, batting .392. It's her 44th game. She's made 36 starts. 7 home runs, 37 runs driven in. Big hack at that one from Solis.
Ella Parker saying, yeah, maybe I got a little bit too much on that swing. We've all been there, though, right?
Why not?
I haven't. A little bit outside. Solis came on in a very critical situation. Got those final 2 outs in the 4th inning, replacing Waiters. Limiting the damage for this Houston staff as they gave only 2 runs to the Sooners.
Yeah, 6-0. I mean, that's a comfortable lead. But I've got to say, I mean, the 6 runs feel anticlimactic in a way, right? You've got the 3-run bomb by Torres, and there have been some really nicely executed things from the Sooners offensively, but I don't think that this Houston pitching staff has thrown poorly. They really haven't.
And Parker takes the leadoff walk.
The biggest blemish have been walks. That is the 5th walk delivered by Houston pitching.
And 3 of them have led off an inning. 2 times those walks have scored to start the inning. As you said, the cardinal sin as a pitcher, give up that leadoff walk. And now Riley Boone is in for the Sooners. There are 5 hitters in this lineup batting .400 or better for Oklahoma. On the move to second is Parker. The throw is on target by Coleman. And the tag applied out there by Lorenzo. It's a caught stealing for the first out.
Ella Parker, a lot of speed. That was a great throw by Coleman. I mean, perfectly executed right into the glove of Lorenzo, and all she had to do was apply a quick tag.
Parker leads this team in stolen bases. I'd be curious to see the jump. And we had a very long conversation with Coach Gasso before the game, and something that they've been working on is being on time. Again, we're in unprecedented times this season, it feels like, with the review of having runners being called out for leaving early.
Boone drives one deep to right field, circling it and making the catch out there is Halsey, who re-entered it to play right field. Kind of turned her around a little bit, but Boone is a long, loud out number 2 in the 5th.
Huge grin from Coach Gasso as Riley Boone came flying around second base. Boone walking the box, basically trying to Happy Gilmore a home run out of here.
But that wind, that crosswind, and props to Hewley, because there was a ball from Kinsey Hansen that dropped, and Hewley wasn't quite ready for it. As soon as Riley Boone hit that ball, Hewley tracked it, turned. She was really shallow right field, turned, but she stuck with that ball the whole way. As it got hung up, she was able to track it, but that was a great job by her out in right field.
Rare hitless night for Jada Coleman. She did reach safely with a walk back in the 1st inning, and she has now reached base safely in 31 consecutive games. Walked and scored in the 1st on the Avery High, or I should say on the Elena Torres home run. Base is empty, 2 down. What a great job, though, by Solis so far out of the bullpen here.
Yeah, and the freshman, again, entered this game having only thrown 5 2/3 innings. I mean, we talk so much about, at this point, we talked about it earlier in the game. At this point, freshmen aren't freshmen anymore. Solis doesn't have those innings under her belt. She has the experience of the season, but 5 innings isn't getting her chops in the circle as a freshman yet, but she's really come in and done a good job.
But it's the thought of, what do you have to lose?
Agreed.
Oklahoma has already scored several runs. I don't have a ton of innings underneath my belt, but what do I have to lose? Just throw my stuff.
Coleman hits a rocket back up the middle to extend the inning. That's her first base hit, and she's on base for the second time tonight.
Jada kind of reaching out for that pitch. Kind of in a tough location, but did a good job.
8 hits for the Sooners. Tiare Jennings had one of them back in the second. Also walked and scored in the fourth. Over the outside edge from Gigi Solis that time. 16 home runs and a .413 average.
Really been working Tiare Jennings with that low and outside pitch. All the pitchers in the game for Houston. I don't want to give her anything in her wheelhouse. What she does so well that makes her such a great hitter is getting her barrel on the plane of the ball very early, and then she just continues to ride it out throughout the rest of her swing.
Jennings, a drive to left. This one's going to hit the wall. Bounce right into the lap of Buto out there. And so Jada Coleman will have to hold up at second base. That may have left a dent in the wall, and it also ties Tiare Jennings with Houston coach Kristen Vesely for the 4th most hits in Oklahoma Sooner history. That's number 293.
That number 293 goes into that record book with authority.
That it did.
That ball was hit so hard off the wall that the speed of Coleman couldn't even get to third.
And so here is Brito. 0 for 2, but was hit by a pitch in the second. Line drive that's caught by the shortstop Lorenzo, and the inning is over.
Houston team.
And so on to pitch here for the Sooners is the Liberty transfer, Carly Keeney. Graduate transfer. She's kind of been that stopper out of the bullpen. 17 appearances out of the bullpen this season for Carly Keeney, and a loves pitching change. Loves travel stops the heart of the highway. Has to face the top of the lineup. Butte to start is 0 for 1 with a walk and a strikeout, and rolls this one to first, but a foul ball.
Fair ball.
Her foot called fair by the plate umpire Keith Kearney, so it did not hit her foot. And now we're going to have a little conversation.
And here's a good view of it right here.
Athletes Unlimited. Like, talk about somebody who's still in the game.
That is a busy, plugged-in schedule for Coach Nod, as they call her. And the call has been affirmed upon review. It is an out. A 3 unassisted putout at first base on Butte to start the 6th. That'll bring in Kennedy Thomas, who is 0 for 2. Ball one low here to Kennedy Thomas. The numbers on Carly Keeney.
She's a pitcher who got injured on the very first day of practice, took the entire fall off to recover. But she throws with authority. She has confidence. She is a competitor. And she is all over the zone. You can see drop, screw, change, rise. I think her screwball and her changeup, they mesh really well together. It's hard for a hitter, the eyes, to be able to discern which one is which. They tunnel very well, and then you have that firm inside pitch.
Sooners have an all-new battery with Riley Ludlam now behind the plate doing the catching for Keeney. Three and one to Thomas. She lined out to third in the first inning and then popped up to the catcher at the time, Kinzie Hansen, who made a great diving play behind the plate to get her out back in the fourth. And a full count now.
One thing Maxwell did a very good job of early in this game, the 1-2-3 for Houston, hitless so far. And again, these are the table setters for this Houston offense. Keeney doing a good job of retiring Butte. So spot here for Keeney to not allow the top half of this Houston lineup to get anything done for Houston.
By the way, that was one of your keys.
Yes, and again, as good as this team is offensively, they live and die from the top half of their lineup, and they have been very quiet here this evening.
There's a reason why they scored most of their runs, Houston, in the first and fourth inning. The fourth inning is typically whenever that top half of the lineup goes through the second time.
That's a flare out into right center field. It'll be cut off by Hannah Kaur. Gets it back in as it does not quite reach the gap out there. Kennedy Thomas has her first hit and is 1 for 3 on the night.
U of H dugout starting to get louder. Talked about top half of the lineup being held quiet. Not anymore.
Jasmine Rowland will be the batter. She's also 0 for 2. Third hit overall for the Cougars, the first off Keeney.
Curious how hard that pitch was. That one looked really firm from Keeney. Feel a lot of speed from her, just firmness with her pitches.
Well, she's such a different look coming from Kelly Maxwell. And, you know, we're talking about the top half of this lineup being held quiet. Up until this inning, lefty-lefty matchup. Now you've got Keeney from the other side. And, you know, it changes the game a little bit. It changes the way that these lefties are seeing the ball out of the hand.
Yeah, the top 4 and 6 of the 9 in the lineup for Houston are left-handers. That roller to the second baseman, Avery Hodge. And Kennedy Thomas is forced out at second base. Rollins safe at first on the fielder's choice play. 2 down.
That was smooth by Hodge. Had to wait for that second hop, but just shoveling it out of her glove quickly, and a good stretch by Jennings to get that out of second. Because again, top of the lineup, they get on base. They have a lot of power, but they have a lot of speed. They're going to get there quick.
Here's Saria Coleman. Ludlam blocks that one.
Ludlam almost tripped over her own feet blocking that one.
Been so valuable to have Riley Ludlam for the Sooners. Veteran Southern Conference Player of the Year last year when Kinzie Hansen was getting healthy, to be able to have her, and in situations like this.
And we actually talked, Chad, before the game started, when we saw the lineup and saw Ludlam in the DP slot, that there would be potentially an opportunity to see Ludlam behind the plate as this game went along, to give Hansen a little bit of a rest. Again, getting back to 100%, and Hansen definitely looks there, but got a 6-0 cushion. Give her a break.
Jennings pumps it across to first to retire Coleman. Inning over. A base hit and 1 left. No gimmies in the Big 12.
Kansas having a good conference season, something we haven't seen out of that program in a minute.
11-7, the Jayhawks entering the day.
Not just good, they haven't won 11 games in conference since 1997.
Yes. I was there for some of those. Couple rough years on that coaching staff.
Kinzie Hansen back up there. 2 hits tonight for the Sooners senior catcher. She's 2 for 3, 2 runs scored.
You know, we were talking in the top half of this inning of Riley Ludlam going behind the plate to give Hansen a little bit of a break back there. And also, again, Ludlam's a tremendous catcher and does such a great job with the staff as well. But the beauty of having Ludlam and what she does with the stick and being able to start her in the DP spot, you can slide her back behind the plate and you don't have to lose Kinsey Hansen's bat.
She's the DP now, and she delivers her third hit of this ball game. Leadoff single in the 6th for Captain Kinsey.
Kinsey Hansen really has been that tough, gritty hitter. Yes, she gets those hits in those big-time moments. That's what you know her for. But I feel like over the past 5-8 games, there have been just tough, gritty at-bats, balls that are hit just hard enough to get through the infield. So good. Because that is what Oklahoma is missing from a little bit more of their lineup.
Avery Hodge fouls this one down the left field line. First at bat for Avery Hodge tonight. She came on as a pinch runner for Alina Torres back in the 4th and has stayed on defensively. Sees her first at bat. Strike 2, good off-speed pitch.
Yeah, Solis pulling the string a little bit. And I feel like I'm going to continue to say it all game. The 6-run lead that the Sooners have, I do not feel is completely reflective of what these pitchers have done for Houston.
Ripped back up the middle by Avery Hodge. Hansen's going to turn and try for third. It's a strike thrown by Thomas. Hansen dives in, and Hodge is able to go to second base on the play. It looks like Kinsey Hansen's okay. She kind of went in hard down there at third. It was a good throw by Thomas, who came up cleanly with it. And now I think they may want to have a look at that play at third base. The call is safe on Kinsey Hansen there, and we'll have another look or two.
I'll say this. Kinsey Hansen, and we've seen this throughout the game, and I think that's why I continue to say we haven't seen a ton of things get squared up, even though there's 11 hits on the board, and Avery Hodge squared one up there. However, on the base paths and executing some bunts and a little bit of short game here and there, OU has just absolutely put pressure on this Houston defense and have challenged them to make plays just like what Kinsey Hansen did here.
I mean, she didn't even slow down. Again, talk about gritty.
And the throw beat her, but I mean,
and it's tough because it's the umpire's right in the view.
But that throw's a little lower.
I think her hand might get in.
You know, pretty good throw coming from Kennedy Thomas from center field, but that throw gets down and Rollin is able to lay the tag a little bit quicker. Hansen's out.
Then used 3 hits for Kinsey Hansen. How about Avery Hodge? After the initial attempt that went foul, ripping one into center field, call on the field is upheld. And so the Sooners runners at second and third and nobody out.
Jada Coleman in this dugout going crazy, showing the safe sign. As soon as Kinsey Hansen was called safe, I think Jada Coleman ran out of the dugout and started grittying in the cheering back end.
I'm with you, Chad. Great job by Avery Hodge. First at bat of the ball game for Hodge. And again, represents what would be the game-ending run in this ball game.
And a core pops this one up. That hits the back screen. And then it's caught by Coleman. Optical illusion there. If you don't notice it hits the back screen, watching from the behind home plate view, and you're like, oh, that's an out. No, it hit the screen. Sooners are in position with the run rule run in scoring position. And nobody out in the 6th.
Solis here, you have a little bit of pressure. Oklahoma, they've come out swinging, powerful, aggressive, the top half of the 6th inning. Don't change anything. Continue to mix up your speeds. Her changeup is so good.
Cora hits a fly ball on the infield. Ranging in is Aguilar, the second baseman. And that's the first out.
And there's that pitch.
Yeah, so good.
Solis hitting a spot and letting her defense work. And we've seen Solis do that since she's entered this ball game. She is not a strikeout pitcher, but has done a really good job of throwing pitchers pitches, and at many times in hitters counts, just as we saw right there. So a great location from Solis in a big time spot.
Patty Gasso will go to the bench here and bring on pinch hitter Quincy Lilio, batting in the number 7 spot for Riley Ludlam, who had 2 hits. So the sophomore from Oceanside, California, will get a crack with 1 away in the 6th. Hansen and Hodge have base hits in the inning. Sooners have 11 in the game.
Tell you what, if you're just tuning in, you see the score, you see the position. Oklahoma, they're up 6-0. They're trying to look to run rule with just a base hit here. But Solis, a freshman, going into this game with only 5 innings. If I'm her coach, I'm looking to put her into these situations again and again, because to me, she has proven herself that she can hang with Oklahoma. She can hang with anybody.
And Waiters was pretty solid before her coming out of the bullpen as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the runs that were scored off of Waiters, it was a squeeze bunt, right? And a little check swing ground ball that really and truly, there just wasn't a play with a runner at third. You know, and the fielder's choice that put a run on the board. But you look at the runs that were given up there, nothing really squared up off of Waiters.
A walk to Lilio loads the bases. So Quincy Lilio strides down to first.
6th walk today. And again, we've talked about and given praise to this Houston pitching staff, because again, there have been some really good pitches made as Coach Troutwine and Vesely make their way out to the circle.
Spot. She has batted twice, and then Ella Parker batted for her and drew a walk in the 5th. Sanders drove in a run with a ground ball in the 3rd. Bases loaded and only 1 down.
And if you're Sanders, both times before you have gotten out on that changeup, hit the changeup.
She's hit a fly ball to right and the ground ball to short that scored a run. That sent Alyssa Brito backing away as it bounced over into the dugout.
And Mindy, you just said it, sit late coming from Sanders. If you're calling pitches and you see that hook into the third base dugout, change speeds. She's working early. And there it is.
If you're Solis, you want to lull Sanders out in front, speed her up with something in. If you get her, you get her, and if not, go back to the off speed.
That's the name of the game. Distort timing. That's what pitching is, right? Distorting timing. And overall, for the most part, Houston pitching has done a decent job of it here tonight.
2-2. Blocked by Coleman. Coleman's done a good job back there for Houston. We talked to Kristen Vesely, and same thing as Oklahoma with Kenzie Hansen. Want to save as much wear and tear on those catchers as you possibly can.
Also one of the best bats in the lineup for Houston as well.
Popped up, foul over the roof at Loves Field. Crowd's been into it. Busy weekend on the campus. The RVs are out in the Lloyd Noble Center parking lot. They're going to tailgate before the spring football game tomorrow. Because if you're going to practice for the fall, it has to be in the tailgating department as well.
Absolutely. Bring your blankets, bring your jackets. It's gonna be chilly.
Another foul ball from Sanders.
Well, hey, if you're going to practice for the fall, the weather might as well match.
You're right.
So at least nice job not only throwing that off speed, but putting it in a place where it's not too much on the plate. Sanders can't get a hold of too much of.
And a full count, no place to put her. It's a tough spot for a freshman pitcher, but how valuable will moments like this be for the next 3 years?
Without a doubt, you cannot. And again, there's pressure in this spot, but you're also down 6-0, right? So for Solis, make your pitch, hammer the zone, put the pressure on Sydney Sanders, and there's a pitch clock violation.
Yeah, call coming in. Solis looking down at her card on her wrist, and the pitch clock expires. Kinzie Hansen scores as it is ball 4, and a bases loaded walk plates Hansen. Sooners now lead 7-0 as Sydney Sanders goes to first.
Solis started her outing with a pitch clock violation. Has several times gotten really, really close.
Riley Boone now with the potential winning run at third. And that's one of the great things about this sport is how fast it moves. But when you are a young pitcher out there, it's moving too fast at times.
I've seen Riley Boone do almost not a slap, but it's a shuffle in the box.
And we saw her do that when she flew out to right in her last at bat.
This is backhanded. The throw comes home, and Hodge is out at the plate. Nicely done there by Lorenzo to Coleman. And that's the second out.
It's a good job by the junior Brooke Lorenzo. Staying under control, having that urgency, but not having panic.
So the bases are still loaded. The winning run is at third, but now 2 outs for Jada Coleman.
Again, with Solis having the composure, especially after getting the pitch clock violation walk.
That is going to end it. A laced double into left center by Jada Coleman scores Quincy Lilio, and the Sooners walk off with a win in the series opener against Houston. 8-0 is the final. 2 hits on the night for Jada Coleman, including the game ender, and Oklahoma takes it 8-0 over Houston.